What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another exciting episode of Switch Talk 2, the perfectly pocket-sized podcast for fans of this amazing hybrid console. I am one of your hosts, Antonio, aka Hypecaster, joined by my illustrious co-hosts, Clay and David. I don't like skipping over this intro part and just saying, here's my co-host. I'd like to start episodes with a get-to-know-you question so you can fall in love with them just as much as I do. Get-to-know-you question for today. Clay, who's your Mario Kart World character? Who's your go-to right now? It says a lot about your personality, who you choose in Mario Kart. And can you tell me why?
Yeah, so typically I pick Donkey Kong, which isn't super exciting, but always been a big Donkey Kong fan, so that's a pretty easy option. A lot of people don't normally pick him, so he's usually available, which is nice. If Donkey Kong's not available, I play as Snowman. I don't know why. I just like Snowman. He's awesome. So
I'm pretty sure that DK gets like the alternate costumes, but does Snowman get costumes? You know how like where you can unlock
I don't believe so.
Alternates? I kind of don't like that for some of the characters. They do not change like outfits. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Usually like the animal characters are kind of like that. David is with us. Who's your Mario Kart World main, David, and why?
I don't know if I actually have a main, to be honest. I always pick different characters, but I tend to gravitate to kind of like the balanced, kind of like your Marios and your Yoshis, the ones that aren't too light or aren't too heavy. But yeah, I can't say that I actually have a main. I'd probably play Yoshi and Luigi quite a bit. That would be the closest.
Interesting. Yeah, I want to say that like I don't put too much into are they heavy, are they mid, are they light? It's more like what do I feel in the moment? And I've been jumping around, but I kind of really like the B for some reason. I'm not sure why. What's interesting about the characters is like I just feel like they're so detailed. He has like little fuzz on him, and I'm just like, that's cool. And I like see his like little details, and I'm all about it. We want to kick things off this episode with a quick what you've been playing, and this is incredibly exciting because again, it's our first inaugural real episode 1. The Switch 2 is launched. We've gotten our hands on it. And I'd like to know how you're spending your time with the system. David, what are you playing? We're all playing World, so special emphasis on everything besides World. But what have you been dipping into?
Probably what I've been playing the most besides Mario Kart is Sonic X Shadow Generations.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Which, I didn't pick it up when it came out initially, so it's been kind of perfect to have as kind of a 3D platformer for launch, which is, to me, just feels right. And it's kind of weird for me that there isn't one. Or at least some kind of like Nintendo adventure game like a Mario or Zelda. So it scratches a nice itch, and it's a really good game. And if you haven't played it yet, like you should check it out. And a little bit of Yakuza 0. So I did end up getting Sonic and Yakuza, although Yakuza hasn't super grabbed me yet. But I think I just need to play more because there's a lot of like story and intro at the front, and I just want freedom to do things, and I haven't really got that yet. I randomly started playing Tetris 99 for the first time too. Just because, I don't know why I didn't play that before, but like it's like, oh, this is actually a lot of fun. And then just like you associated like, I know I said Virtual Console, but various NSO Nintendo Classics, I guess they're called now. Nintendo Classics. I'm just playing around with a bunch of stuff that's available. That has been available, but it's still fun to play it on the shiny new console. So
the Yakuza game, like it has that JRPG DNA all over it, so it's going to be like a slow wind up. Like they do not skip out on the story. It's a lot of exposition in the beginning until you like open up all the like mini games and options of what to do. So I'm not surprised it hasn't grabbed you yet. How is it visually though on the system, Yakuza 0 on Switch 2?
It looks good. My understanding is the best looking version of the game, but I think at its core, it's still kind of, What did it originally? Was it PS4 or PS3 that it originally came out?
Dude,
I
there's
can't
no
remember.
way I'm gonna know. I'm lucky I know that there's Yakuzas.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's so many
Normally I know these
Yakuza games.
things.
There's like
Yeah,
49
I think
Yakuzas. Seriously.
I think it was early PS4. I'd say that it probably looks pretty close to that. There's some really good texturing, but it still doesn't it doesn't look current gen. It doesn't look like something that came out yesterday on PS5 or something. It's definitely an older game, but it looks very sharp image
Sweet.
for what it is. Just, don't expect it to look like a 2025 game.
I've been playing a lot of older Switch games. Like, it's almost like there's a reason to go back to your Switch 1 library, and all these games that initially like hooked me before have now hooked me again, that were not like AAA. Aside from Mario Kart World, I've been playing Breath of the Wild, no, Tears of the Kingdom with the upgrade, which is smooth as butter. I When you see it in action, it's like, oh, okay, this is it. When the frame rates are that high and things are that sharp, it's like I want to play it more regardless of like what it is. So just for that alone, it got me in, and it helped me overcome that hump in Tears of the Kingdom where it's like, this is daunting. Where am I? What are my objectives? The world's already kind of like aimless. It doesn't hold your hands. But the upgrade got me to sit with it for that first 30 minutes until okay, here are the controls. Oh, I remember how to fuse. I remember how to do this. And it got me back in. I was so surprised. And then the smaller games I was talking about is like Into the Breach, which is a like isometric, almost like a puzzle game where you play little mechs fighting bugs who have invaded, and you try to either kill them or defend the cities to keep advancing through all these islands. It's like a mini kaiju game with strategy elements, and it's actually really fun. And then Minecraft Sweeper, which you guys don't understand why I like. It's just mine. It's like a Minesweeper, yeah, but in a game form that is slightly different. It's an amazing game. Minesweeper Genius is what it's called. There you go, Minesweeper Genius. So check it out. And I just been in games like that. How about you, Clay? What have you been playing on your Switch 2? Your brand new Switch 2.
Yeah, so I've been jumping around to a couple different things. I did end up purchasing the Sonic game that David was talking about at his recommendation, and I've been enjoying playing through that. I just beat the first boss on that the other day. I also got back into Splatoon randomly. I skipped on 3 originally when it launched because I was kind of annoyed with how quickly 3 came out after 2 with what seemed like not enough of a difference in a game. And so I had originally played 1 and 2, skipped 3. Anyway, so I downloaded 3, and I've been playing that, and I don't know how I feel about it all just yet, but I've been enjoying playing it at the very least. Other than that, I've also been playing a lot of Fortnite on there, which runs surprisingly well. It's probably not exactly where my Xbox or PC would be at with it, but in docked mode, sitting on my couch further away from the TV, you can't really tell. It basically feels like a regular console version. On handheld, it's a little bit more noticeable. Some of the areas that it's maybe not fully where it should be, but still leaps and bounds better than the old Switch version. Which, interestingly enough, my parents were visiting a couple weeks ago, so I was doing my dailies on my old Switch Lite, and so I had kind of a good idea of what it was like to play on a Switch before. Granted, I think not using the Joy-Cons and just playing on a Pro Controller, I think makes it leaps and bounds better. It's something about Joy-Cons playing, Fortnite, it just doesn't work super good. But also with Splatoon, they did put out that update yesterday to make things perform better. I didn't play it before the update, so I have nothing to compare it against. I haven't played it in handheld mode yet, but I assume it looks pretty good. So it's been playing really well. A couple other smaller, older games that I played, but that's the interesting ones there. So
I love the Sonic Shadow Generations. I was there when you bought it. We were hanging out on launch, and it's just one of those games that visually, that's what I want out of a system. Like, really kind of push it and have eye candy. And then like I've been gravitating toward these games where I just can turn my mind off and just kind of like wreck shit. And like I'm not really
Yeah.
a huge Sonic fan, but like I downloaded the open world demo. I forget what it was called, Frontiers, and I was messing around with that. So I like have this weird Sonic itch. So I'm gravitating toward either getting Shadow Generations or Splatoon 3. I've been saying that I want a shooter on the Switch. I like first person competitive shooters, so I'm like I'm trying to find something. Apex Legends does not run well at all. We tested that on the Switch too. It's just unplayable. Didn't get like a significant bump at all that I noticed. So very interesting. Moving on to our reader mail segment. If you're listening, leave a comment in the description of the YouTube video and we will read your comments and questions on the show. We really appreciate your interaction there. If you could like, subscribe, all of that. Thank you so much. Reader mail today. I'm lucky I got a Switch too, but I can only afford one other game than Mario Kart World. What would you recommend to buy, and importantly, why? David, somebody's got limited cash. They just dropped all this fat money on this amazing new console, but the launch lineup's a little bit weak and money is tight. I can only get one other game besides Mario Kart World. I'm struggling. I'm sweating. It's a financial decision. It's a life decision. David, guide them.
Okay, so I guess I guess it a little bit depends on their situation. So if you're coming from like, I've not owned a Switch 1, then obviously the other Switch 2 game that you should buy would probably be Breath of the Wild. Just
Like if
fantastic game. And if you haven't played it by now, the Switch 2 edition is out there, which I have not tried yet, but it's Breath of the Wild. It's going to be hard to screw up. But I'm assuming most people are upgrading from Switch 1. So I'm assuming you already have Zelda and probably already have the upgrades at this point for free if you have NSO. So probably going to go with Sonic, as I just think it fills the thing that's needed to be missing. The thing that's needed that is missing.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm a little bit half asleep still. Having that kind of 3D action adventure platformer game at launch, to me has always been like an important part of getting a new console, and I think it fills that void. If you're not into that, I'm trying to think of something that's like, there's not very much exclusive, so it's going to be harder if you've already played all these games on other platforms. It'd be harder to recommend stuff.
100%.
Because there's not much that's actually exclusive outside of Mario Kart World.
That's a decent answer.
I haven't played it yet, but
There's
I've
not
also
much.
heard that the Cyberpunk port is very good, and if you have not played that game yet and are okay with playing it on the Switch 2 instead of super beefy PC with ray tracing, like it looks good, like it looks better than you would think. And I've heard that game is pretty good, but I haven't got around to it yet. But that does seem like to be the other big one out there that a lot of people are getting as their second game. And it's not can't recommend it personally, but just throwing that out there that it does seem to be a popular choice right now.
Sonic X Shadows Generations or Cyberpunk Switch Edition. Clay, I can only get one other game. What other game should I get?
Splatoon 3. Nintendo announced this week that they're putting out their first Splatoon spin-off game, coming soon, eventually, whatever. And so the hype is building for Splatoon fans. And so now's a great time for everyone to get back into the game, and I need people to play with. And so I need friends to play with. I need people who aren't amazing at that game. I feel like every game I get put against a bunch of dudes who've been playing since launch. And so we need some fresh blood besides myself out there, trying to make it in the world. There is a slight bump up in resolution and I think overall the speed of the game, the frame rate. I haven't read fully exactly what all updates have come to it yet, but there's just a big game to explore there. So I'm getting into it, and it still feels like there's a relatively healthy amount of people playing. Me and Tony tried Splatoon 2 yesterday, and we were getting put in the same lobby with the same like 10 people over and over again. And so, which makes sense. It's an older, 3 is the most recent, so there's a lot of people playing it compared to 2. So anyway, that would be my recommendation. It's not a great one, but it's what I got.
I think those are all great answers. I look at it very logically because you have the racer, so don't get like the fast fusion game because you already have a racer. And then don't get an adventure game because Donkey Kong Bonanza is coming soon. So like normally I would say like Mario Odyssey is like my number one pick. I played through most of the game, stopped, and then like that's my adventure game that I'm holding off on because I know that Donkey Kong's coming. So don't get a racer, don't get an adventure game. I would have to go with like one of the more like arcadey action games to kind of bounce between the two. So I would have to go with the Sonic game. It just seems like a good bet, or Splatoon, because again that shooter, you need something, and it seems like that's their mainstay. I can't have fun in Splatoon too much because it's just so sweaty. I'm not prepared when I go in. People have been playing for years, and it's just like it's a unique skill set. It's not like any other shooter where you can go in there and just start, aiming headshots. It's completely different. You have objective based modes, and the movement is very different, and all the weapons and how they shoot is very different. It's just night and day. Like, it's such a unique game. So I'd have to go again either Splatoon or Sonic Shadows Generations. I don't know anyone who's gone RPG route. Like, there are people who are playing Cyberpunk, obviously, but like that fairy game, the Bravely Default Fancy Fairy Edition or whatever, I haven't heard anyone playing it. Haven't seen any reviews. It's so odd. Have you guys seen any coverage on this game? It's only $40, so that was gonna be my runner up because I'm like, get into an RPG at not $80 price, but that's my secondary recommendation. So
I know it's a very well reviewed game, the original, when it came out.
yeah,
I think it's just not that different from what people have played before, so it's not that exciting to talk about. I haven't heard anything negative either. So I'm assuming it's still the good game that it was when it came out, but probably just not the most exciting thing to play on a new console.
interesting.
Tony, don't forget you were also a coward, and you cowarded out of getting Hogwarts Legacy.
Oh, I forgot about Hogwarts Legacy. You're totally right.
Yeah.
I've heard good things too, that it's really decent. I think that's where I gotta go. There's so much that I want to get, and I think we sat through looking at through the eShop, which is great, very smooth, very well designed now. Could be even better, but I don't like my limited money. Like, I got Mario Party Jamboree so we could play some of that. Don't regret it because we haven't even begun to dip into the mini game modes. We were able to play the actual board game Mario Party mode, and it was fun. It's decent. There's pacing issues, but when you're in there, I mean, it's fun. So if I had the money, if I truly had the money, I think I would buy and play like 4 or 5 other titles. But right now I'm in decision paralysis, trying to like buy 1 or 2 or 2 more is going to be a big decision for me financially. So we'll see. I want to have a discussion about the Switch 2 system itself. We're going to break it down in a pretty fun way in little chunks, okay? So we're going to talk about what we love about the system. So the best thing about it, the best, one thing that you hate, so something that you wish you could change, something that would elevate the whole system if they had only done this. And then the N factor, one thing that surprised you that you didn't expect. Okay, so I think, Clay, are you prepared for this one? You feel ready for that? Or David?
Yeah.
Okay, Clay, go ahead. What do you love about the Switch?
So what I love about it, I love how the interface feels. I love the sound effects. I love the vibrations. yeah, I love it. I love how easy getting it set up was. As long as you have your old Switch with you, it was a very easy process. You did have to scan that QR code like one too many times or two too many times. But other than that, it was a really smooth, easy process, and it it didn't feel so different that you had to completely relearn the whole thing, but it felt like a slight visual upgrade from the old, Switch UI. And so it's just very, very Nintendo. It's happy. It feels familiar, but feels clean and fresh and well put together. So just once again, a great experience, getting things plugged in and started and showing you how to do things. If you're familiar with what a Switch is, it wasn't too annoying. And if you're brand new to the console, still very informative, which I appreciated. So I loved that. I thought they did a good job with that.
I couldn't agree with you more. I was there, setting up my Switch with you. You had just done it and you're trying to walk me through it. And right away I panicked. I'm like, I'm not going to be able to do this. Like, I'm bad, like, with a lot of things like that. Like, my intelligence score is just very low. I was like, this is going to be complicated. And it really wasn't. It was very smooth. So I totally agree. Can you talk to me a little bit about that setup music that's taken the world by storm when you're setting up the system?
Yeah, I mean, it's another. It's not the Wii eShop
No.
quality, but it's close. It's in the ballpark, and so yeah, people are loving it. We were jamming to it for a while. You had both your Switches sitting there for a while, and we were just jamming out to it. It's a banger.
I love it. It is a true banger. One thing you hate about the system. Oh, if they could only change this, it would elevate the whole system.
Yeah, so for that, I'll go ahead and steal. I'm probably stealing somebody else's answer. No, I won't do that. I'm not going to take that one. I guess I would just say like screen calibration with like HDR and stuff. You and the three of us have been messaging different videos of people claiming to know how to get the best looking setup for your Switch on your TV, and so there's just some confusion with that and. Moving dials. What does this dial do? Does it move both dials or is it separate? It's just a little convoluted, and I feel like it's something that they could still tweak and it could still be fixed. But I just wish it was a little bit clearer. I appreciate that they allow you to change that stuff, but I don't know, David, maybe you have stuff you want to add on to that if you agree or not. But it just seemed a little convoluted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's gonna be my. The thing that I hated the most as well is the HDR.
Really?
Calibration.
Okay.
Yeah, it the fact that it's also like out of the box, like if you just ignore it, it's not good. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, like a lot of other games will give you the HD. It is nice that it's system level and you don't got to do it for every game. But say you're playing a game on Xbox or PlayStation or whatever, and that HDR calibration pops up. Like half the time, you don't even have to adjust it much or at all because they give you a pretty good balance like off the bat.
Interesting.
Which is not the case on Switch 2.
Yeah.
Both symbols are wide and burnt in right there until you adjust it. So it looks like it's not even like remotely going to look good if you don't go ahead and change that. And it's also not very entirely clear what you're supposed to do. The wording that they use is not great, and you kind of have to figure it out. So my general, from what I understand, I've watched some technical analysis of it. Like you're supposed to turn it, like you really don't need the symbol on the left is pretty much meaningless.
Oh.
I don't even know why it's there.
Interesting.
You really just need to make the other symbol completely disappear. And I spent so much time trying to find it because a lot of times I couldn't even see the I could barely see because to get the other symbol to disappear, the other one has to be almost disappeared. All of it's doing is turning up. I think it's called nits, max nits. So you want to get it as close to your TV supports as possible, which is something I wish honestly that you could just put in a number because then you could look up what your TV supports and put in the number what it is.
Yeah,
you gotta do
that would be a good idea.
Image thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you want to get as close to your TV as possible. And then the second one is a lot of people call it paperwhite. They call it brightness. And that one I'm a little bit more sketchy at. Apparently you can change it, and sometimes some people claim it makes it look better. I also hear other ones saying like don't touch it. So I wish it was a little bit easier, and a lot of it isn't Nintendo's fault though, because HDR in general is not super standardized. So how TVs handle it is vastly different, which is why they have to have these annoying like configurations, because it's just not going to work the same for everybody until you configure it a little bit. But I wish it was better. At the very least, just gave me a default that was okay for 90% of TVs, so I could just ignore it, not fiddle with it at all. But it doesn't.
The tool is trash, and there's also a setting that says enable HDR only for HDR enabled content. And then the other option,
Yes.
I think, is just have it on all the time. So they're literally letting you turn on HDR for everything, even if it doesn't support HDR. That must screw something up. I don't know.
Yes. So I remember when PlayStation 5 first came out, it did the same thing, and people complained because it can make the colors look washed out on games that actually don't have the HDR color space. So in general, unless your TV has some built-in mode to make SDR content, like I think they call it, like, is it called tone mapping or something, look good or look better, but like, so unless your TV specifically supports something to make SDR sort of upgraded, when HDR mode is on, you generally want to have that turned off. So, which I don't think mine does. I looked through my TV, so I just turned it off because I thought it looked better with it off.
Cool.
Though it is kind of interesting when you turn it off. I don't know if you guys have tried. It'll like every time you start a game, it'll my TV flashes black for a little bit.
Oh yeah, it does that for like Xbox on certain things.
Yeah, but it does do it like I do like that it doesn't do it until, like, if you go into an HDR game, exit the game and go to the UI, it doesn't do that up until you start an SDR game. So it literally waits for a piece of content to change it. So if you're just playing nothing but like HDR games, it won't flash when you go back to the menu, which I think is what Xbox used to do back in the day. Like every time you exit out of an HDR game, it flashed. But now it like literally won't change back to SDR until you start SDR content, and then it'll stay in SDR mode until you start HDR. So it does feel a little bit smoother than I've seen some implementations.
Clay, the N factor. What's one thing that surprised you? You weren't expecting it. Could be good, could be bad, but it came out of left field, or is something that makes it special and Nintendo-like.
Do you guys remember how old is voice chat? How long has voice chat and video games been around? Since what? The original Xbox, is that right?
I voice chatted on the Xbox, on the big fat console. Online was a big thing, if you remember online gaming. So it's like chatting and game and online gaming went hand in hand. So it's got to been like 20 something years. Like,
yeah, so the original Xbox came out in 2001. So we've had voice chat for
a long time.
24 years, and Nintendo finally figured it out, and they actually got it to work, which is wild. I don't need my phone. I don't need a headset. I don't need a microphone. I don't need anything. I can literally just accept an invite, and all of a sudden I can hear Tony talking. I can hear David talking. They can hear me. I don't have to find my headset and put it on and turn it on, make sure it's charged. It just works. Does it sound the best? Maybe not, especially if I'm across the room from my TV. But the Switch itself somehow is got a microphone built in. So even if you're not holding it right in front of you, it's all the way in docked mode. It still works as a microphone. I was very impressed with it. I was blown away. Is it the best thing in the world? No, but like it works and it's decent. And I can do it at any point. I can send a party invite or whatever. Are there some limitations? Yeah. Tony, you were saying there's no way to add people to an existing chat. So if there's the two of us in there and we want to add David, we have to start a brand new one. So that's something that like seems a bit outdated. But I was really impressed. I'm glad that it's there. It works well. I shared my gameplay footage with you yesterday so you could see that. That worked. I plugged in a random webcam that I had the other day. That worked. And it zooms in on my face. I noticed in low lighting, it's a little shaky. You got to have some light on for it to work well, but it works. So I was very impressed. Well done, Nintendo.
Yeah.
They finally figured it out.
The game chat simplicity, like I thought it was going to be a lot more complicated. If you don't have the C button on the controller, you just go into the options and it's like a little icon, just like the eShop, just like the settings button, and you just pop it up. And then from there, there's not like a million settings. It's just like create a lobby, join a lobby, and then it's like, okay, now you can share your screen and your camera or not, or mute yourself, and that's it. And I thought it was going to take me longer to figure it out how it worked, but yeah, it's kind of very good. There's a noise suppression in this built-in microphone, so it's picking you up across the room and kind of like isolating your voice. And then the camera is like, I saw it, your old webcam that you plugged in, kind of like jumping to your face and kind of keeping you in the bubble. And I'm like, how is this possible? It is kind of magical. The quality is not good. I mean, it's like, 360p or some weird low resolution that I see your face, but it doesn't need to be because it's so small and it's intended to be just in that small circle. So it's kind of odd. And then the sharing your screen is at like, 15 frames per second or some weirdness, and it's but I did find myself like knowing where you were in Splatoon and being like, oh, okay, well, this is useful somewhat. So I was very blown away by it as well. Yeah. I'll go next. What I love about the Switch 2 is the screen and handheld. I didn't know what I was looking at. I think it's the HDR, but when things were bright, like they're like the little fire thing that's jumping on the track, I was like blown away. And the lights that were going by and basically anything that was lighting based handheld looked so good, and it's a combination of the high frame rate and the HDR screen, and I was not expecting that. I just didn't expect to be kind of like blown away by it as much as I was. It's weird because it is subtle, but it definitely makes a difference. So that's what I love is the handheld screen. There's something about what's going on with the HDR and Mario Kart World in particular that I was just impressed with. What I hate is handheld. I've had to play the console handheld quite a few times now, and your grip on the console is just, the design is atrocious. Like it's a very flat console. The Joy-Cons being kind of like larger is okay, but like you cramp up. You just cramp up playing, and the Joy-Con or the little sticks are nubs, and it's just not like a larger, like an Xbox like stick. So what I typically did and what I did with Switch 1 was I got a grip. So a grip that hopefully can, it gives like bulkier handheld ways to hold the system on the side in a more ergonomic way. And it also fits in the dock. So that's what I'm going to go for my Switch 2. I'm just doing research on which one to get, but I need more heft there. The balance needs to be better. And I was thinking about this. I'm like, could Nintendo not have like come up with some little thing that like snaps on that adds some heft for when you want it, included in the box. Maybe it costs them like $5 to make, and they include these little like things that could snap onto the Joy-Cons. I just thought that would be great. Instead, the grip, in my opinion, is completely necessary, and some thumb caps is a good way to solve the problem with the nubs feeling like not accurate. You're shaking your head, Clay. Come on, set me straight. You don't like thumb caps on the sticks?
No, and I don't like grips on things either. I agree it's not the most comfortable hold, but I don't see how that's going to make it feel better. It's just going to make it bulky.
No. You got to get the right one then in that case. And then the end factor, the thing that surprised me, I'm going to go with the audio as well, just piggybacking off Clay. I mean, it shouldn't. I'm praising Nintendo for having audio chat like 25 years too late or whatever. So it's very odd, but it's easy to use. It was decent, and we needed it. We were all playing co-op games, trying to figure out like, do we chat through this app? Do we use Discord? Like, how are we going to do this? We spent a whole console generation playing Switch together and weren't able to talk easily, and now we can. So that's my end factor. David, What do you love about the system? One thing. There's a lot you love, but the one thing.
Only one. I'm gonna give a couple because I don't care. But yeah, so this is, I guess technically not the console itself, but I think it should be mandatory if you buy one, and that is the new Pro controller is absolutely glorious.
Agreed.
And it just feels so good in your hands. And I advise this for the first Switch, is that if you're buying it, get a Pro controller. You don't realize what you're missing, and you'll enjoy it so much more when you're in docked mode if you have a real controller rather than using those little Joy-Cons. It makes it feel like a real console. But in particular, it kind of just surprised me how good it feels in your hand. This is kind of my end factor too, so I'm going to cut into do both of them. Is that as someone who played extensively in the original Pro controller, coming into the second Pro controller, I thought it would just be like very small, unnoticeable improvements. And well, you can argue that there's nothing really significantly changed. Just how it feels in your hand is like night and day, and it was a really good purchase. I could have used my old one, but I didn't. I got the new one, and it really just like adds to the experience of this being a new console. I'm playing with something new I haven't held before that feels really, really comfortable and good in the hands. The control sticks are superb. I love it. So I'm just going to say that was my end factor and then kind of skip to what I like about it to be easier. I think Clay already touched on this, but I do just really love the slick Nintendo interface. It keeps the bones of it, but it's not just the same thing. Like they could have just cut and paste the same OS like Xbox did, which was one of my biggest disappointments. I remember when I got a Series X, it was just like you turn it on, it's just like, well, it's the same. Nothing has changed. And I'm glad they didn't go that route, and they actually made an effort to like, what can we improve, polish up? You know, it's kind of like going from like a really major iOS update or something with like a design language change, which I think we have one coming up, so see how that goes. But you don't have to relearn anything, but everything still feels exciting and fresh. And also just it being in 4K is a big deal for me. Like when I would go even just switching between PlayStation and Switch, just the UI itself was always noticeably lower res, and it was just like I love my Switch, but it just doesn't feel the same way as when I turn on my PlayStation and I have that really crisp UI. And that's been resolved. And yeah, I'm really excited about being able to play third-party games. Like if I can get an indie title which shouldn't take very much power at all, and those ones will probably end up looking identical no matter what console you get on them now because of the 4K output. And I was always kind of put off even getting like small indie titles or remasters because I knew I couldn't get it in 4K. It seems like so stupid because like a super old game should be identical on like all platforms out now, and it hadn't been the case up until now, and now they are, and I'm happy.
Excellent. To wrap it up, I want to spend 1 minute. Sell me on the Switch, okay? So you're trying to convince your buddy to buy it. Clay, go.
I don't know, man. I'm not necessarily trying to sell my buddies on this, but all right, I'll try my best. All right. Hey, so you know that Switch that your kids always play? Well, you should get Switch 2 and not tell your kids about it, and then you can keep it in your room and you can play it all the time, and nobody has to know about it. It's basically a Switch 1, but it does better graphics, and it has a new Mario Kart game. It's the only way you can play the new Mario Kart game because you can't play it on Switch 1. But then there's also a Donkey Kong game coming out next month that's going to be awesome, and you'll only be able to play it on there. You should totally get one if you can find one at a store somewhere.
Excellent. Now convince somebody to not buy the Switch. 1 minute, go.
Yeah, I mean, there's not that much of a difference between a Switch 1 and a Switch 2 right now. You could go on Facebook Marketplace and buy a Switch Lite for under $100. So the amount of games that you could unlock with $100, it far exceeds the amount of games that you can No, you can play them all on the Switch too. But for $500, you can play the same games plus a few others. Eventually, I think the Switch 2 will come down in price, maybe a little bit, or they'll run bundles and it'll become a little more accessible for people. Hopefully, fingers crossed. There's not a great Switch launch lineup, and so you could always keep playing Mario Kart 8 for a while and have way more levels and characters to choose from. Maybe not characters, but levels. The end.
I'm going to convince you to buy a Switch too. So the console itself is very impressive. Like the HDR on the handheld mode is really great. And I wasn't expecting that. The Mario Kart World game, I'm not a huge Mario Kart fan. I kept thinking to myself, I'm going to get bored with this. And, you know, having such a thin launch lineup isn't going to be enough to hold my attention. I was wrong. Mario Kart World is really good. It's a lot deeper than I thought, a lot more fun moment to moment, and it keeps pulling me back all the time. And I wasn't expecting that. I think that it's a great investment if you have the cash because it is more Switch. If you're a Nintendo fan, it's pretty much a no-brainer. Now, for those who should not buy the Switch 2, here's why. Do not get a Switch 2. It's incredibly expensive for what you get in a lot of different ways. Like, I'm not going to knock it for the power because we really haven't seen it optimized yet, but it could do more. And there is a money pit going on with this thing when you look at the console, the accessories. The Pro Controller is like so good, but again, very expensive. And the games will never go on sale. You're going to be wanting to play all of these Nintendo titles, and it's not going to be like a Steam Deck where you're going to buy discounted Steam games. It's not going to be like Xbox where you're going to have a Game Pass. You're going to have access to a huge library for a low monthly cost. You're going to be buying $60, $80 games. Maybe if you're lucky, $45 games that are on a weak-ass sale like all the time. This is a money pit console. David, convince someone to buy the Switch 2 quick in less than a minute.
All right. I mean, you like video games? Do you like Mario and Zelda and everything Nintendo does? Well, there's only one place you're going to get those. And now they actually are going to look visually comparable to everything else you're seeing on the market. And it's called a Switch 2. You should get it if you like fun. And I think the big thing is like there's going to be games that everyone's going to be talking about, and they're going to come out exclusively here. And this is where we're all going to probably want to be. And I think that's really the big thing when it comes to it, is they have the software library. And if you want to play their software library, you're going to buy in or you're going to be crushed with never-ending FOMO. And that's about it.
He's not wrong. Convince someone to not buy the Switch.
No.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our inaugural True Episode 1 of Switch Talk 2. Please leave a comment or a question in the comment section. We will read it on the show. Please ask your questions, and we'll take them. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next time.